Hello. This video is in response to Brittany Rose. She's a Christian YouTuber. She has a hair care line and a really great channel, so go check her out. But this is in response to her video, Secular Music is Ruining Your Life. So I just want to start off by saying that I I grew up immersed in Christianity, but I would say that I'm on a spiritual journey. I don't think it's fair to say that I identify as a Christian or that I'm on a Christian journey per se. But I'm currently reading and analyzing the Bible, and if on that journey I find God, great. But my goal is to study the Abrahamic religions and then move into other religions. But that, and if you find that makes my opinion invalid, then by all means I completely understand and respect that. But I just thought it was an interesting topic. I actually commented on her video, but I'm of the mindset that I prefer conscious music as opposed to narrowing it to secular music. She mentioned Megan Thee Stallion, Chris Brown, Cardi B. And the comment that I made was that from my understanding of the Bible, the devil was an angel. So the dichotomy, maybe not necessarily the dichotomy of man, but I've extrapolated it to man, where people can wear two faces. You can be both the devil and the angel coexisting and battling it out. And the reason why I like conscious music is learning how to hear both sides, because I feel that both entities can be in the room with a person at a time. I don't know if I'm communicating myself well or clearly, but take Chris Brown for an example. So a song that I would say that is a really good example of that is the song "Please Don't Judge Me," where he's talking about his past relationship, the infidelity, and I would say that he's being very vulnerable and introspective. But when you break it down and you analyze, you need to understand what that person is actually saying and where they're at. I 100% agree when you take in certain kinds of content that it can impact your personality. For example, if you're reading or if you're watching a lot of low vibrational content, so say your love and hip hops or your sexy reds, even when you embody the persona without processing what got them there, you can take on their demons, I find. So for me, my understanding is that you're in psychology right now. So for me, I used to be in psychology, so sometimes I like getting in people's head and playing devil's advocate. So trying to understand where that person came from, their rationale, and what value they have to provide out of their experience. So it's often said that a smart person learns from their own mistakes, a wise person learns from the mistakes of others. And I feel like you can get a lot of value from that through the arts, through music, through reading, through listening to this content, or through listening to a diverse array of content. I know when I was younger, there was this song called Tie Me Down by the New Boys, and it was so catchy. And I remember liking one of the guys, but then when I listened to the song line by line, like he's telling you, like you're dancing along, you're enjoying it, you're feeling it, but he's telling you he doesn't want you. He's not looking for a relationship. Even if you're supported, where he's at in this stage in life is about his ego and building whatever brand or whatever persona he is. And he's even talking to you about like what he's experiencing when he's having relations with you. So you might be thinking, oh, this guy's handsome and he's successful and he's on this trajectory, but he's telling you where he's at. And I feel like at that point in time, a lot of us young teenage girls, we did not hear it. Guys would be telling us to our faces exactly what they thought about us, exactly what they were using us for, and we cannot hear it because we were infatuated by the whole aura, the presentation, as opposed to the actual content. So that's why I feel like art is a good vehicle to provide schemas or examples of how life can play out. So like for example, like take Love and Hip Hop for example. I remember there was a song, I think it was with Kanye West in The Game, when I was a kid, and they made a song, Wouldn't Get Far. And they were talking about how you wouldn't get far dating a rapper, and you think that there's going to be all these benefits tied up to it, especially if you get knocked up. But what are we seeing playing out in the era of the Diddies? In the eras when you're seeing, I think Erica Mena's story was that she got pregnant as a teenager, meeting an older man on one of these sets, and then now your life is under a microscope for the world to judge you. And what are we seeing as a result of that? What are we seeing as a price of fame? So for me, if you look at it from a religious sense, sometimes I think of it as their sacrifice. They're in the garden, and we're observing. Now, whether or not you want to ascribe a judgment to their behavior, to their life choices, to the consequences, that's on you. But you have the opportunity to learn from these people who may be an example of your environment. Or you can look at examples of, if these people are aspirational examples, where is what they are doing getting them? And that's why I think content creation is really important. And as certain kinds of creators, you have to be mindful of the content that you're putting out and the intent. When I listen to a song like Swimming Pools by Kendrick Lamar, and you're hearing, like, I remember there was a phase in college, and it's even a phenomenon, college binge drinking, right? When you hear, you interact with the music, and you hear the turmoil, the anguish, the conflicts of of that lifestyle of alcoholism. Sure, like you hear the beat, you hear the melody, and that might be enticing, but when you delve deeper, when you drown in your sorrows, when you're able to go in and hear the angel inside, what are they telling you about where this path could lead you? Yes, some people might hear the devil and get some sucked in, but some people, that may be their path to getting out, and surviving the worldliness of the world, of the journey that we're on. And I feel like it's not to say that Christian music can't take you there, but I feel like Christian music sometimes has its own agenda. Like um like who's backing it, or what is the intention? Is it just that you're making music as a palate cleanser for all the clutter that's going on in the world? Is it that you're just making a general worship song? Is it that you are trying to get into a new niche and there's still that underlying money motivation? And yes, you can praise God and still have a purpose, but I feel like sometimes people hear God in different places, and God appears to you in the way that you need to hear it, right? And sometimes, like for myself, for an example, I wouldn't necessarily say that I identify as a Christian, but I found you, and there's times where I hear things from you, and your journey, your experience, it resonates with me. And there's times where I might find a Muslim person and take value from their teachings. And sometimes it's not even their teachings, it's their values and their mannerisms, or their culture. I know I know when it's not to say that God hasn't done miracles in my life, or that God hasn't done miracles in the Christian sense, but one time that stands out clearly in my mind was I had I have a friend, and she's Muslim, and when I wanted to learn more about her faith, because for me, I want to be a student of religion. Like, for me to know God isn't enough. I want to understand God, and whether that's good or bad, for me, I feel that's important in my relationship with God. I feel like when I get to a point of better understanding, because I feel like I know God exists, I would say that I identify as an agnostic. I've had enough interaction with God to know that God exists. But there is a bit of strain because I feel like I don't understand them. There's this crisis of faith. I don't understand how I relate. I don't understand how I fit in the grand scheme of things. And for some people that may not be important. The point might be faith, but for me, faith is something that I struggle with. Haven't I feel like I've been let down when I've just followed blindly. But I remember talking to her and asking about Islam, and she invited me to the mosque. And when I got there, she had to cancel, and I felt reluctant to go in by myself. She had taken me to the mosque before and kind of walked me through the steps, but I was supposed to take the next step to go in there and to like meet with people and like begin like the revert process, right? But I was really intimidated and overwhelmed. So my other friend, she took me to her place, and my friend's child is developmentally challenged. They have a lot of developmental delays, like their speech is behind, their motor skills are behind. Yeah, but then that day he just got up and walked. It wasn't even just getting up and walking. He was walking and putting away his toys. And I was just stunned. Like, I was just in awe. And I mean, I'm not a parent, but that was something important to me. Now, that's not she's had quite a few children, so she wasn't really surprised because she's seen kids take their first steps. But for her, I guess she just figured, I guess he'd been walking all this time at daycare, he just hadn't been doing it at home. So yeah, but for me, that was like that was the first miracle. Now, somebody might say, "Well, that was your sign. You're supposed to go and revert to Islam." And I didn't I didn't get to that point. I didn't I didn't get there. But um I would say that uh, I would say that there are echoes where I hear God, where there are times where I'm pulled closer to God, and I feel like I I hear you struggling on your your journey, and I would say, by all means, you know yourself, do what's right for you. But I would say that's something to consider, and maybe to not to not necessarily place judgment, but just to take a step back and be critical of the whole picture, and and what elements you you want to embody. Like, is there any value in this at all? um I wouldn't say like, oh, because you enjoy it, that makes it inherently right, because that's not necessarily true. There's some people who enjoy really sick and twisted things that come at the expense and detriment of others, or who engage in things that sabotage or impair themselves. So I would say you're a smart person, and I trust your judgment and your discernment to make decisions for yourself. That's just my particular thought on the issue of of secular music. I think that there's there's still value. There's still value there. But um again, I like your channel, and I would appreciate the opportunity to connect and engage. My aim is to create a forum of people who might be on um on a different journey. I mean, I'm open to all walks, but just people who are here and questioning and critical, and wherever we end up, hopefully that's where we're supposed to be. But yes, thank you.